In the world of high-fidelity audio, it's this constant, never-ending search for sonic perfection, right? Well, today, we're going to look at a component that makes some really big promises in that quest, the Dragon Speaker Cable Zero. We're going to break down what the source material says, try to understand the problem it claims to fix, and get into the tech behind its pretty bold claims. So, let's dive in.
Okay, so let's kick things off with the core issue here. The source material really hones in on this super common frustration, something anyone who's put serious cash into their sound system might feel. It's what they call the hi-fi bottleneck. And really, it all boils down to this one question. You've done everything right? You've got the premium amp, those incredible speakers, a top-notch high-res source, but something just feels a little off. The sound just isn't living up to the price tag, you know?
Does any of this ring a bell? The source material gets really specific with the symptoms. We're talking about bass that feels kinda undefined, a bit muddy, high notes that are missing that crisp sparkle, a soundstage that feels cramped instead of wide open and expansive, and just this general feeling that the music isn't really singing the way you know it can.
So according to this material, the culprit is often hiding right there in plain sight. It's not your expensive gear. Nope, it's the very wires connecting them. The speaker cables, that's what's being singled out as the potential weak link that's holding your whole system back.
All right, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, the source material introduces this core innovation. It's right at the heart of the Dragon speaker cable, and it's called Zero technology. So, what is Zero technology exactly? Well, it's described as this proprietary design, and its whole job is to minimize signal degradation. The main goal here is to get things like inductance and capacitance down to almost zero. The idea is to make sure the signal that leaves your amp is pretty much the exact same signal that arrives at your speakers, with as little change as possible.
Okay, so what does all that technical talk actually mean for your ears? According to the source, the result we're promised isn't just some tiny little tweak. No, it's a fundamental shift. We're talking about unmatched signal purity, a soundstage that's both huge and perfectly precise, and audio that has real, authentic clarity and some serious dynamic punch.
Now, the design doesn't stop with just signal purity. It's also built to handle the entire frequency spectrum. And there's a special focus here on delivering not just, bass, but what the source actually calls bass authority. Kind of love that term.
And this comparison chart really lays out the claimed differences in black and white. So on one side, you've got conventional cables, which the source positions as a compromise, something that can even mask details. But then on the other side, you have the Dragon Zero, presented as optimized across the board. We're talking a full range response, deep, tight, impactful bass instead of that boomy, uncontrolled mess, and a kind of articulate clarity that supposedly uncovers details you might have been missing.
Of course, the tech is one part of the story, but the materials, that's a whole other piece of the puzzle, right? So let's take a look at what's actually carrying the signal and why the choice of material is framed as being so incredibly important. And the source material does not beat around the bush here. It makes a really bold, really clear statement about its choice of conductor. It's not just saying silver is a pretty good option. No, it flat out declares that when it comes to signal transmission, silver is king. So why the big focus on silver? Well, the source lays out this kind of three-step advantage. First, you've got its superior conductivity, which means a lot less electrical resistance. That leads directly to point number 2, reduced signal loss. So more of your amp's power and detail actually makes it through. And the final result, the big payoff, a sound that's claimed to be way more transparent, vibrant, and just plain lifelike. Okay, so let's tie this all together. How do all these technical details, Zero technology, the silver conductors, how do they actually claim to change the experience of just listening to music? When you get right down to it, the promise here isn't really about adding something new to your sound. It's actually about removing something that's getting in the way. The cable is basically positioned as the key to unlocking the full hidden potential that's already sitting right there in your amplifier and speakers. And the effect they're going for is a total shift in how you listen. It's presented as the difference between just passively enjoying a song and being actively yanked into this totally immersive, absolutely breathtaking sonic world. The idea is you feel closer to the music than you ever have before. And that brings us to a final, pretty provocative thought. I mean, think about it. If a cable could really remove that final barrier, what new details might you hear in your absolute favorite song? The one you've listened to 1,000 times? What little nuances are hiding in there right now, just waiting to be heard? It's definitely a compelling thought to end on.